Greetings. This is Diego Knight and D. Marie Warzeka. How you doing today?
I'm doing just great, Diego.
So, what did we do last weekend? Or actually last week?
It's only been a few days, actually.
Yeah.
I made that long trip down to Guerrero Negro to see the whales and some other stuff, too. Oh, here we are on the bus.
Yep, it was on the bus. It was like 5 hours on the first day and about 4 hours on the next day. And I think that's on the second. I think that's on the second day. So anyway, the key thing is we started Monday morning,
Bright and early. Whew.
right? And then we drove through Ensenada, went to San Quintin, and we stopped at Catavina.
But wait a bit. Hold up. We went to lunch, though, at Mama Espinosa's. That's
Yeah.
a very famous restaurant.
Yeah, that's correct. That's a famous restaurant. It's been going there for many years, a couple of decades, and it's a pit stop for the off-road.
Baja 1000, right?
1,000, 250, anything in that area.
Yeah.
They usually say that. And they have a unique museum. You can buy souvenirs. But also the interesting thing, you have an old-fashioned diving suit there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And a million stickers from every motorcycle or off-road vehicle that's been through there. So it's a place to be. You definitely have to stop there. It's south of San Quintin, isn't it? El Rosario.
El Rosario.
Yeah.
El Rosario. Right. And they just go you just go down south the coast, right next to, you see the ocean, but then it turns east over the mountains, over the first set of mountains. Then it's a little valley. You have there's a farming area as well. So we had lunch there, and then we went down through San Quintin. Well, after that, we went to San Quintin first, and then went to Rosario, and then we stopped at Catavina. Catavina, that's at a little place. Let's see where our photos are at right now. So anyway, okay, so here we are. We're at Catavina. It's a small little motel, and it's in the middle of nothing. It's between the Sea of Cortez and the Pacific Ocean.
But it is in the middle of a bunch of cacti, right? They're
Yep.
huge. Wow, there were some really big ones there.
Yeah, that's right. And we went to the cave painting.
Now
What'd
that
you-
was different. That was different. It was a hike in. You had to hike in about they said about a kilometer and a half, and
Yep.
it was interesting because the guide was pointing out all these plants. They all looked the same to me, but they all had different medicinal values to the indigenous people, I guess, that used to live there. And,
I heard that. I think it was the Cochamis, the Indians over there.
is that what it-
Cochamis? Yeah, I heard about that one.
yeah.
We saw the Kumai. We know the Kumai. They're in northern Baja California, Mole and Ensenada, and also they're in California as well.
But the unfortunate part was that there hasn't been enough rain, so there were no spring wildflowers.
Well,
so
let's take a
most
look.
of those plants would be blooming, from what they explained.
Well, let's take a look at the photos. We have the slideshow, but here, this is what we want to see. This is at the right at Catavina, and we have a big cactus, a lot of them over there, but some real tall ones. So there's one of them. And then this is the cave painting area. That's it was a little rugged. We had to go up the area. This is right before the cave painting area. Some of the formations of the rocks is really unique. And here we are. Here's the cave painting.
That was interesting. Had a bend over, twist around, scoot down. I mean, it was about 3 foot tall from the ground to get into it.
Yeah.
And then once you got in, you could sort of stand up, but got to be careful you don't bonk your head.
Right. That's it. That's very difficult. Because if you have any mobility issues, it's difficult to just crawl in. But that's it. So.
But it was cool to see those paintings.
Yeah, and I asked how old they are. They're about 12 to 15,000 years old.
Wow.
And it's they said that that was created before the Cochimi were there.
Wow.
That seems really interesting.
Yeah.
So then after that, we spent there for like a couple hours, about 2 hours for that one. And then we went down to Guerrero Negro. And then this is the first thing we saw. We saw the salt mine in Guerrero Negro. And actually we saw a couple barges. Last year, there was one big barge. It was pretty much rusted and it was not being used. They've removed that one, but now they have a couple salt barges, and I think we had three of them, and just a lot of salt.
Well, that's like the biggest salt production area. I think it was interesting, though, on the way over that they explained that it was actually an American that started that area. He
Yeah,
came from San Francisco. I forget his name, but he came from San Francisco, and he was somehow into salt production. I don't know how you get into that. And he realized, this was like a natural area with the salt water, and it was just naturally, evaporate, and that they could actually sort of mine it. It's not really a mine. We call it a salt mine, but it's all the salt. You see the salt on the side of the road. It almost looks like snow. It looks like a big mountain of snow.
that's right, right. So let's see what else we got there. Also, this is one of the barges that were being used. Last year we didn't see any. There were a couple of barges, but we didn't see them moving. But that time on that Wednesday, we saw that.
Yeah. And they work 24 hours a day. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the main employer of the people in Guerrero Negro, beside, the whale watching that they run, but
right.
that's their main employment.
And it seems that was it the Japanese got involved with that one.
Oh, that's right. After, yeah, he sold out to the Japanese. They took over, and I guess now does the Mexican government own it
Yeah,
as
they
of last
privatized
year?
it, and so they're working on it. But the thing is, the Japanese they had all they industrialized all the equipment and stuff like that
Oh,
one.
that's right. The technology.
Yeah, the
they brought in.
technology, and also Japan uses a lot of the salt, not just for food, but also for cosmetics and stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So,
but here it's good to know there's an endless supply of salt for the rims on those margaritas.
oh, that's true. So that's true. Also, there's some
Oh,
besides the whales. We saw some osprey. We saw a lot of them over there. Last year, we heard that there's a lot of them who live on land, but this one was right at a little post just for them.
yeah,
Yeah,
they've had to add on to some of those power lines that they protect the birds so they could build their nest above the power lines. But those were some huge nests we saw this year, and we could see the babies in them,
yep,
stuff like that,
right. And here's one of them. Here's one of them
flying
was
away.
flew.
Yeah.
He's checking us out. So it's like, hey, what are you guys doing here? So anyway, so people want to know, did we see the whales? Yes, we saw the whales. We saw several of the whales. I heard there was only about 500 whales at that time.
Yeah, and that's quite a bit down. Other years, there's usually about 2,000. So this year, it could be the change in the weather. Who knows? Or it could be we were a little late this year. I'm not sure. But
Also,
um,
they just not they only the whales not only stop at Guerrero Negro, I'm saying Guerrero Negro. They also go down south.
yeah, further south. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's it.
But it's still, no matter what, no matter how close or far, it's still amazing to see such a huge animal like that, and they're so friendly. You don't have to worry when you're on the boat that they're gonna knock you over or anything like that.
Yeah, very very close. Like this one. Okay,
Oh, the
this is the
baby.
baby and the mother.
A very curious baby.
Oh yeah,
She kept sort of paralleling our boat, I remember.
and she went under a boat too.
Yeah.
Like you can go over, we can we go over, and the whale goes under us. So let's see what else. Yep, and here he is. Here's the
Oh,
baby, and he wanted a photo, so he smiled.
I
So there we
know.
go. So anyway, so it was really unique. Last year we don't well, I don't think we saw a baby last year.
No, and especially not a baby with the mama like this one. They were staying together, and the baby was so playful. The mother was obviously keeping an eye on her or him, whichever it was. Just making sure. But we kept hoping that that baby was going to come over to the boat so we could touch her, but no luck.
So
She just liked to tease us a little alongside the boat,
yep,
smile at us.
there's the photo.
Oh, there's her eye and her mouth wide open. She's smiling.
This is the money shot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How cute. It's just amazing, though, when you think about it, that baby was probably born in January, so only a couple months old. And it's in the next couple weeks here, it's going to be making that long, 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 long voyage all the way back to Alaska,
Right.
up in the Bering Sea up there. That's a long trip to think a little thing like that can make it all that far.
Yeah.
And we
So
thought the bus ride was long. Oh my God, hate to be the whale.
yeah, that's true. So let's see some video clips there. Here we are. This is the scene we're going out, and here's one of the salt barges. Then
I like that ride out. It's a fast ride and winds blowing.
right this time it was windy, but it was not as windy as last year, but it was not as cool,
Yeah,
and
weather was different this
yeah,
year.
it was much nicer.
Yeah.
Nicer.
At
Yeah.
one point, I do remember, in the beginning, you get out there and you have to be sort of patient. You're just sort of scanning the horizon to see if you could see a whale blowing or something like that, or jumping up. But and then all of a sudden, you start seeing them on either side of you, and it's like, oh, there's one, oh, there's one, and especially for you trying to take the photos or the videos up there was sort of hard to keep track of them. They're
Yeah, that's
coming
right.
pretty fast at one point, but
Yeah, I couldn't turn. Everyone's looking forward. I was looking at everyone in the boat because I was sitting in the front. So I was looking behind people so you can see. And the thing is like, okay, one side is looking at both sides, and sometimes you don't know where it's going on. Sometimes you don't know where the whales will be popping up. So let's see what about this clip. Yeah, where there's another boat, and the whales were around us. You have an interesting hat.
there it is.
Yeah,
My
there you go.
froggy hat.
Yeah.
Well, I learned from last year. Last year, I just wore that baseball cap that I had underneath it, and going out with the boat, I thought it was just going to flip it off my head, and I'd be contributing to one of the many hats that end up in the ocean. So this year, I got my froggy hat with my little eyeballs, and it had a smiley face. And I put it up on top of my other hat. It kept my ears warm, and it was an amusing look. So, you know, got to be different.
So there we go. So, and then yeah, well, the baby was with us quite a bit, and we were there for about around around 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
12:30.
And then lunch on the boat.
Yep, lunch on the boat, and that was it. It was a great thing.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to touch the whale. They were close, but we were able to see the baby. Oh, here's the baby again.
Yeah.
And it was the baby was very curious to see what was going on. Like, okay. And last year we had the yellow raincoats.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. The bananas. We look like a bunch of bananas.
Yeah, today's like, okay, mom and dad probably said, we have no bananas. What's this? I don't know. So it's brand new. So.
Yeah, the more you think about it, because it was colder and wetter last year.
Yep.
So
yep.
this year we just had to wear the life jackets. So.
Right. That's it. And sometimes at the water, it seemed very calm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Cool experience.
Very life milestone.
Life changing.
Yeah, life changing for sure. And I remember, from Chicago, we saw about whales in movies, TVs, magazines, and the museums of Chicago, but we weren't able to see a whale. But now we're able to see it. I do remember, who was it? Oh, Jacques Cousteau and Steinbeck. He made a book called Sea of Cortez.
Oh, really?
It was done in 1940s. I read it several years ago, and it talks about what's going on. I mean, it was about going to the peninsula, and he did a lot of specimen creatures and stuff like that. It was really interesting. But the thing is, also when we went to Mazatlan, we saw the statue of Jacques Cousteau. It was really interesting. So he said this is like a living aquarium. So anyway,
well, the other thing I think is always interesting is how the Panga captains, they all know the whales out there. I mean, and how they take a census of the whales. So, I don't know how they do that, but somehow they counted this year that there were down to like 500. They know how many are the babies, how many are the mamas. I guess there's a group that goes out there and does that. But yeah.
And usually in like 1 or 1.5 months, they usually go for February to March. That's it.
Yeah, they'll be heading back.
Yep.
Maybe if we're lucky, we could see them coming by here as they're on their way north.
Yeah,
Because, they follow the coast. That was an interesting thing, too. They do follow the coast. They don't go out deep because they're, natural predators. They don't want the orcas they talked about and, the sharks and things like that to attack the babies on the way back. I mean, in a way, it sort of made me feel a little sad when you think about the lifestyle, not the lifestyle, like the life of a whale. They come down here to breed and have their babies, and then their whole purpose of going back is just to feed, so they can make the trip again next year. And it's like it's just sort of a weird circle of life that they have. Of course, us humans, we do the same thing. We get on that bus and drive for 10 hours just to go see them.
Yeah, but one time last year we only had 2 days. This time we had like 3 days. We split up going there, but when we came back it was 10 hours. But the thing is, last year we had rain,
Yeah.
so
yeah.
that was a big thing. So
No, the ride back was a lot better this year.
yeah,
The
that's
weather-
true. So anyway, the key thing is when you say USB-C, United States of Baja California, we had a whale of a time, a great time. Not able to touch the whales, but the thing is, hey, we got the photo of the baby, and it's on a USB-C page. So, well, we're gonna have more adventures in the future for sure. So anyway, this is signing off from Diego Knight with D. Marie Warzeka.
Bye.
Take care. See
Okay.
you.